notice the Prophet ﷺ repeating, or it became a sunnah from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are many sunnahs, or at least many things that we do in Islam that is very much connected and linked to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. One of them is Tobaski, and one of them is Safa wal Marwa. All these are very much linked to the history of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So when people do it, I would like also them to understand the history and make sure that it's a worship, but a worship that is very much linked not only to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam.
Authenticating the Sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is a good one. But however, slaughtering a ram is not mandatory, as some try to imbibe it as a religious obligation.
Sacrifice is a very important component in what we call worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed the way that we worship him. Sometimes he says establish prayer, you have fasting, but sacrifice also represent a very important element in the history of worship. So even before Abraham, people also used to sacrifice. And then Ibrahim was asked to sacrifice his son to get nearer to Allah. But then the son was lucky, Abraham was lucky. The ummah of the Prophet also was lucky. Otherwise, some of the historians also are saying that had that been the case, then each one of us would have been asked to sacrifice his own son. So meaning that we are lucky that there was a ransom of this ram. So this ram really caused us, at least helped us, rescued many of us. So but then that history is also built on a deeper history of the importance of sacrifice. When you read the Quran, Surah Al-Kawthar, Allah is saying, Inna a'ataynaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar. You see, verily or indeed we have given you Kawthar. Establish prayer for your Lord and then sacrifice. So the issue of sacrificing to spill blood just to get near to Allah represent an important element of the components of what we call worship in Islam. So that is why when people do it, let them also do it based on their understanding that it is a commandment of God, which is linked to a very important history of Islam, which is to link Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Prophet Ibrahim. It is sunnah. It is sunnah. You see, sometimes due to the fact that many of us overdo it, due to the fact that in this country it is now becoming a custom, it is becoming more of tradition, it is becoming more of a requirement that is blown out of proportion. People have to understand that it is sunnah. The importance of sunnah lies in the fact that when you do it, you are able to do it, you are rewarded. When you don't do it, because you are not able to do it, you are not punished. So that is but nowadays, we have seen that there are many people who burden themselves. For example, especially those who have many wives. If you have about 4 to 3 wives, and you can only afford one of them, then each and every wife would like you to at least slaughter a ram for her. That you cannot. And I think as a man, as a woman, as a husband, as a wife, understanding should be reached. That it is a sunnah. Once you have one ram for the family, the sunnah is also performed. Rather than taking loan here and there to perform what seems to be an obligatory or mandatory, which is not mandatory, and at the end of the day you are indebted to here and there, and then you are exposed to a lot of unnecessary disgrace. I think people also have to understand that it is sunnah. Sunnah meaning that you do it, then you are rewarded, but don't overdo it, or don't do it when you are not able to do it. Or once you are able to do one, make sure that the family, your 3 wives and your daughters, they kill and slaughter a ram just to make them enjoy that particular day. But to blow it out of proportion as it is happening, I think is something that we have to revisit, because many families are breaking because of that, and it doesn't need to happen. So I think people have to understand sunnah and understand the limits of sunnah without blowing it out of proportion. I think it is very important too.
The most important thing is one must be able to afford it financially, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of geographical location, regardless of any other consideration. The most important thing, it is a very, like Raja says, it's a very strong sunnah, tradition, very emphatic sunnah. And in the science of Islamic law, when you are told that something is a sunnah mu'akkada, an emphatic sunnah, it goes to a level which is very near to obligation, even though according to ulama it may not be it's not a mandatory duty. So in so far as you can afford it, you must do it. But you know, Islam is a religion of mercy.
Yes.
In a home or in a family, instead of everybody in the family doing it,
yes,
the head of the family can do one and then intend to do it on his behalf and on behalf of the entire family, and that will be accepted. Of course, unless for those that are mature enough who can afford it, then in that case it will be required of them to do it, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the tradition has it, initially slaughtered two rams, one for himself, one on behalf of the entire ummah of Islam. Those of us that cannot afford it, but anybody who can afford it becomes, required of him or her to make sure that he does it. Okay. So that is how it goes. It's a very important tradition of Islam.
Muslims must commemorate the day in conformity with Islamic teachings.
The day, we're expecting it to be on Friday. You see, days and months are chosen by Allah. And although it is Allah also who tells us how to commemorate the day, how to perform the thing, not we telling ourselves. And a lot of customs and traditions are, part of it, so much so that sometimes we don't know what is religious and what is not, what is not religious. What is supposed to happen is, at this day, we are expected to make sure that if we have the money, our family is happy. If you have new clothes, make sure that, especially children, because they don't understand, if you can provide them with new clothes, then provide them with new clothes. And early morning, make them, you wash, especially if you can have major ablution. You do your major ablution, and then you go and attend the 2 rakahs as it is done in the outside of the mosque. You go and do 2 rakat, and then you listen to the khutbah, and you do a lot of what we call takbir and ta'hil that day. You are not expected to involve in vain talk. Of course, this is not expected of Muslims at all times, but especially that day, because it's a day of thanks, a day of appreciation. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. These are the tasbih and tahleel that we are expected for Muslims to do. When you go and pray using one road, you are expected to return with another. The second thing is for people to understand is that you cannot slaughter your ram before Imam. So you have to wait until Imam slaughters his ram, then you do yours. When you slaughter your ram before Imam or before the prayer, then it is just a sadaqah rather than one of what we call tobeski. So then understanding the timing of sacrifice is also very important. You have to do it after Imam, the Imam of your mosque. After the Imam of your mosque or Imam Ratib, then you go and do yours and make sure that your family is happy. Then you visit each other. You make sure that the relationships are revitalized. If you have malice, meaning that you have some, bad relations with others, try to make sure that the day you mend the relations, go and visit your friends, go and visit your family members, and make sure that everybody is happy and you make your family happy. What I don't want to encourage is allowing these young kids on the age. For example, you see them during the Tobeski corridor. You go to the street, they are just like chickens. As a family man or woman, as a family in the household, make sure that you make your children happy, but make them happy properly. When you allow your children to go from dawn to sunset, and you don't know where they are, they go out. They mingle with people they are not supposed to mingle. They dress improperly in the street as if they have no parents to take care of them. These are things that will spoil a lot of benefit, a lot of reward that we as Muslims are supposed to collect during this day. So I think families have to be made aware that letting their children to go on rampage is something that will destroy or at least spoil a lot of reward that we are having. So let us protect our children, let them have people, let them have at home, and if they are going to visit, you go with them to their uncles, to their aunts, but just release them like that without protection is something that we should not condone